many of the people who come to these Saturday food support groups, some new faces that I'm seeing. And just want to say that this is just like my heart's desire to connect with people and to navigate this journey, because I think that so many times we feel so overwhelmed, listening to this podcast, reading this book, going to all the different things and hearing all the different noise. It's so helpful to be able to be seen and be heard on your specific journey. So thank you so much for everyone who is here, everyone who is watching the recording, the replay. My heart is full to be with you. So first we're going to start with Tom. He had some pretty interesting news this week. So go ahead, Tom, and you can tell us what you're doing this morning.
This morning I was actually planting fall bulbs, lilies and tulips. And so my wife ordered like 300 or plus flowers directly from Holland. And so that's what I'm doing today. I started that, and I've done 2 tree circles so far using the drill thing, so I don't have to lift anything. And sorry about this dog. That's a neighbor dog barking.
No worries.
So she's watching me closely, taking my blood pressure every 10 minutes. Now, just kidding. She's not doing that. So for everyone who's wondering why.
And how long has it been since you've had your open heart surgery or quadruple bypass?
A month and a half ago.
Month and a half ago.
So the scars are still healing, as you can see. I'll pull my shirt up, but I don't want to scare anybody. But so, yeah, a month and a half ago. So I had my follow-up with the cardiac surgeon, and I think they're probably like, yeah, you're healthier than people that normally come here for their follow-up. Stop it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I didn't have to. I got to skip my PT. Because I really don't need it, she said, and because I kind of pushed the limit. I'm kind of one of those. Channing, stop it.
No better. I don't want to yell at you.
Sorry. So yesterday I had my follow-up with my primary care physician. So this is one of those guys that, I like him. He's former military. He's been my primary care physician forever, and we have to have a primary care physician because we can't do anything.
Yeah.
So he's been stuck on my cholesterol and my LDL-C, and that's what they're taught. And we had this discussion the other day with talking about Kelly Hogan and when her doctors. I mean, the same exact. Where the blood work was like beautiful. It came back. I was like, it was the best blood work I've had in a long time. And my A1C was 4.7. I was freaking. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, it's 4.7. The day before I'm going to go see the guy to put me on all those meds.
And what was it?
It was 8.2 in February.
Wow.
I got bees. I got dogs barking. I got wind blowing.
It's okay.
So it was 4.7, and my mean glucose was 88, and so everything's beautiful. Even my liver. Remember, I was diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in February. My ALT was in the middle of the green range. You like that little thing I just did there?
I do. That was like
middle of the green
taekwondo.
Range. And it was the first time it's been inside the green since the whole time, even when I was in the hospital getting tests and all that. So that means that my liver is either clear or getting clear. So I'm jumping for joy. So I was pretty excited about it. So I go there. I'm at my lowest weight for a long time. And so he comes in and goes, oh, you dropped more weight. Great. But I'm really concerned about these 2 numbers. So I said, Dr. Canan, you got to, come on. I said, I'm going to see the new cardiologist next week. And the one that wrote the paper, he just wrote an article about LDL-C, actually about low carb diet, really. And in there, they concluded, well, not concluded, they suggested LDL-C is not an indicator of cardiovascular disease. And it's a very weak association. LDL-C, now this is the one they tell you when you have the cholesterol too high, the LDL-C too high. So I said, doctor, my LDL-C is just outside the green. Yeah, it's higher. But here's this article right here. And he goes, well, have him send me notes. And I'm like, what do you need a notes for? Here's his article that he wrote for a journal that's peer reviewed. So, and basically saying the same thing we've been saying all along, that LDL-C is not a big deal. And neither is cholesterol, by the way. And I have to find these other studies that I collected for that. Cholesterol, the higher cholesterol, actually you live longer. The lower cholesterol, you actually die sooner. And that's what the research is showing. Wow. And they're going to have egg on their face on this. Now, my triglycerides are right in the middle range. They're right in the middle green range. I said, Dr. Kanan, my triglycerides, the only one I care about. And that's in the green. I lost 75 pounds. My A1C went from 8.2 to 4.7. And you're telling me you're worried about these two little freaking blood tests that are just outside the green? Come on, Win, stop it. So is this Win?
No, you're fine. You're fine. I want to cry, Tom. I want to cry. Like, I am just so grateful. And I saw this, like, I can't explain the knowing that I had, but I had this knowing that you were going to prevail, that you were going to get through this, because there was so much fight in you. It wasn't anything like God spoke to me or anything. It was just, I just saw it all over you. I saw this vibrance and this light that every time you spoke, you knew what you were doing. You knew what you were talking about. You. And you did it. You did all the research. You did exactly what your body was telling you to do. You listened to your inner clarity, and you are winning.
You were like that. You said exactly that. And you did give me a lot of inspiration too, by the way. So, I do have to say though, I know for a fact that my doctor is blown away, because he can't hide that. I can see it in his face. I don't think he's ever had a patient that is probably reverse type 2 diabetes. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't, but cleared fatty liver that showed up on an ultrasound. And I told him, I said, in spring, I expect you to do another ultrasound, and you're going to see my liver's clear as can be. And I said, and I asked him, I said, I think you did it better. So the ALT score is like dead center of the green. I couldn't believe that, because it's been outside of that whole time. So, and that's the indicator. And even Dr. Barry said on his podcast that if it's in the green, because somebody asked that question, if your ALT is in the green, your liver's clear. So I'm like, my liver's clear. I can't believe it.
Yay!
So.
Yay. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. And you've lost 75 pounds since February.
Since February. Yeah. And I'm seeing this new cardiologist on Thursday, and I can't wait to tell you about what he says. Based on his paper that he wrote with another doctor, I expect him to be like giving me a hug. And because he truly, based on what he's writing in this paper, he's a low carb advocate for sure. So I'm happy there. Now, if I wasn't, my doctor is like on the edge of, my primary care doctor is on the edge of me firing him or not firing him. I really like him, but at the same time, he still is hanging on to that. And no matter how much evidence I've really put out to him, and he refuses to read any papers that I bring to him or show him or tell him about.
Does he know you have your PhD?
He does. And he wants my doctor to send him notes. I said, his notes are in this paper. He says only right there that LDL-C is weakly associated with cardiovascular disease. So,
Catherine says, what is LDL-C?
I'd have to look up exactly what it stands for. It's one part of your lipids of your lipid profile. It's the small particle. I believe it's the small particles of your lipids, and I don't know exactly what it does. I probably should get myself better acquainted with those terms and what they are, so that I can talk to them like in an elevator speech and not sound like I'm, pretend like I know what I'm talking about. But then when somebody says, what is LDL-C? And I go, it's one of those things that I want to be able to talk to it better. So thank you for calling me out, Catherine. I love you too.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Um,
My hair is
so I really think that that's how we navigate this. And I think that these things present themselves to us so that we can learn more. Amy and I have been on a crash course journey trying to figure out what is wrong with us. And every time we learn, every single time, and then clients present themselves to us with the exact thing. And we find, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that I paved the way, that I went forward with my whatever. And now I can help. I know the answer. I know what LDL-C is. I know what whatever is. I know what the healthy ranges are. I know the solution because I went through this journey.
Exactly. I want to be able to talk about it like Dr. Paul Mason talks about it. And if anybody on here has not listened to Dr. Paul Mason talk about cholesterol and LDL-Cs and fiber, eating fiber and what it does, there's speeches that he gives at different events. I want to be able to talk to it, maybe even with his Australian accent. I may even try that.
All right, Larry puts in the chat, serum low density lipoprotein cholesterol. So it's serum low density lipoprotein cholesterol is one of the most important risk factors of coronary heart disease, and also in childhood hypercholesterolemia is closely related to atherosclerotic.
And that's where my doctor, the cardiologist I'm seeing Thursday, disagrees with that.
Wow.
Dr. Paul Mason disagrees with that, and so does Dr. Ken Berry and others. So that's the YouTube answer. I don't know where you found that, Larry, but it's probably the Google answer, and that's what's killing people. They get you get a high LDL-C and you get a high cholesterol, and what do? They put you on statins, and on the statins shows that it only increases your lifespan by 1 day. That's if you watch Dr. Paul Mason's presentations, he lays that out so nicely and professionally and medically and science where the science backing that it's hard to argue with that. And then they'll say, like my cardiologist that did my surgery. These are famous cardiologists. He's the one that did the pig heart transplant. Yeah. And he still believes some things. He's still, like he talked about the Framingham study about cholesterol. Well, I went and found out some other research on the Framingham study that they, just like they cherry pick certain parts of the data, and then they present it as fact when it's really just a small part, and nobody really challenges it. And when you don't have people challenging it because they're afraid to, because of the cancel culture that we have, then people just go along with it, and it basically becomes not law, but it becomes the AMA or the Cardiologist Association, all these people, they put out this out as fact, and they haven't really done their own research on it. And then with school, they teach it. They teach you that high cholesterol is bad, and that's what they learn in school. And they don't learn nutrition. An hour's worth of nutrition.
What did you say your LDL-C was?
I can go in there and get it really quick. It's like 10 feet away from me.
Oh, no worries. I just Shelly put in the chat that hers is 323. What'd you say?
It's not as high as that.
It's not as high as that. Okay. Interesting.
It was 204.
204. That was quick. That was less than 10 seconds.
I know. Well, I said it was only 10 feet away. 0 to 100. And it's 204. So basically, I'm twice the minimum range. And of course, they put the letter H by it. So it says, oh, look at that high. If you see that nice 4.7 at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it.
I can't read it. No, sorry. Because the screens I have so many different screens on here.
Yeah. So, 204. And my cholesterol is 273. So the high end of the cholesterol range is 200. So it's really not even that high, and it's way lower than it was last time I did it because he put me back on statins. So, but my triglycerides 112. I would do that right. It's not right in the middle. It's in the green. So everything else is in the green.
Got it.
Just we're just thing to look at. That's what.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tom. You were just such an inspiration. Quadruple bypass and like lost 75 pounds, reversed type 2 diabetes, and you're doing yard work. Go ahead. What?
I walked my dog 3 miles the other day. My normal walk that I used to do.
Yay! So
it's great. I'm lucky because I didn't have damage to my heart before I had the surgery, so this is why I can do the things I do now where others probably can't. So I am fortunate. I'm lucky to be alive, and just thankful for you.
Well, we are grateful to have you. We are very blessed to have you. So thank you so much. Go ahead. What?
My nurse that came to see me, she is doing carnivore. She's actually on a carnivore group. She found a group. She's doing a group. I didn't ask her which one, but I try to say, hey, go on, Amy, go on, But so if you find anybody named Stella, then it's from my nurse. So
awesome.
I don't know who she picked to go on, but at least she's doing it. So I'm so happy that she's doing that. So
awesome. That's amazing. You're an evangelist. You're spreading the word. Awesome. Catherine, go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning. So good to see you.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So much information. I actually have another question about cholesterol. Not really for myself. I honestly could care less about my cholesterol, but they do have my husband. He's 60. They do have him on a statin for the last 4 years. And he's also on blood pressure medication. I'm a fairly healthy guy, otherwise very fit. But I'm curious to know, I was actually going to direct it at Amy because she always seems to have a lot of information. You retain it well, Amy, so usually you can
she does.
Yeah. In regards to cholesterol, taking someone off of a statin that's not a carnivore, my husband is not carnivore, furthest thing from, I'm wondering if his cholesterol levels matter as much as ours do. Or more than ours do, should I say, because I know ours can go much higher, like total cholesterol and that kind of stuff. But I'm wondering for a non-carnivore, what your thoughts are, if you've taken in any information on that.
Yeah, it depends on his metabolic health. If he's insulin resistant, then the high LDL can be problematic. And the reason for that is, okay, I just recorded with Dave Feldman. There's a lot of science. There's a lot of science in there. But what people have said, and I'm going to show you something. I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Okay, can you guys all see that? The
Yes.
Framingham Heart Study. Okay, the risk of coronary artery disease in men aged 50 to 70 by LDL-C and HDL-C levels. So if you look at this chart right here, and you would be able to determine it from your husband's blood work. This is the relative risk of having a heart attack. Down here, we have the LDL, and along this axis, we have the HDL. So you'll see right here, this is indicative. This is showing if your LDL is at 100, 160, or 220. So this is all 100, and it lines up with the HDL. So if you have an LDL of 100 or 220, your risk for a heart attack is about the same if your HDL is elevated, like 85 or above. Whereas if your HDL is too low, that actually becomes the part that is more dangerous. That is more a predictor of what's going to happen, because you can see if you have high LDL and low HDL, the risks, you have 3 times the risk of having a heart attack. So for your husband,
Wow.
it would be, what is the correlation? What does the rest of his blood work look like? Because if he's got a sky high HDL, mine's 100. So I don't care about what my LDL is doing. I care more about what my HDL is doing. So this is actually the Framingham Heart Study itself. This is what so many doctors base their recommendations for statins on. And I've literally made a pharmacist cry before, because she called, my husband got a CAC and he had a score of 1. And they were like, you need to go on a statin. And so he was kind of trying to talk to her, but he was like, I don't understand it here. You talk to her. So I asked her, I was very nice. I was not mean. And I said, have you actually looked at the Framingham study? I said, you guys are only focusing on his LDL, but what about his HDL? His HDL is way higher. And I was like, do you actually know what I'm talking about? And she was like, no, I don't. I'm just trying to do my job. Yeah. So she had no idea whatsoever. So I'll leave that up for a second if anyone wants to like take a screenshot or anything. But this was actually a presentation at a low carb conference by Brett Scher, who is a cardiologist, a low carb cardiologist. So he presented this. You can see low carb, the low carb cardiologist up there in the corner. This was his from a presentation. So that's my answer to that. It depends on what the rest of his stuff is doing. So yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit.
It does. I appreciate it. I keep trying to look at different things, and I don't know, I'm concerned that they have them on these medications, because being in the carnivore community, I hear so much about cholesterol and it confuses the heck out of me. That's why I asked you, because you seem real direct with it and can narrow it down.
She knows her stuff, man. She knows her stuff.
Yeah. So I'm concerned. He's been on quite a few years now. And when I hear of the negative side effects of those medications that they can be doing to him, I don't like it, and I don't want him on it. And I've tried to tell him, just stop taking it, we'll wean down and stop taking it. But we're not quite there yet, but hopefully soon. But I was curious if that, I hear so much in the carnivore community that my total cholesterol doesn't matter as much. My LDL probably doesn't matter as much. They're probably going to be high. But I was concerned of a non-carnivore when his are. I don't even think they measure high anymore, but it was probably like a one-time deal or something. Anyway, and then I do have a little bit of an update. I wanted to thank everyone for letting me share last week. I did have a better week emotionally, being able to detach myself a little bit from the scale. I still am using the scale, but I'm trying to get away from that. It's kind of my goal. It's going to be on my plate this week. And I was talking to my husband about it. And, we were trying to think of like, well, maybe if I can narrow it down to just getting on every other day or every third day or something for a bit, and try and break that habit, or possibly not getting on in the morning at all. If I do want to get on, I have to wait maybe till I get home from work or something like that, something to switch it up so I can detach from it. So anyway, I just wanted to thank everyone. It was a really, really, really difficult week for me. And like I said, I'm feeling better, but you all heard the spiel last week, and it was emotionally taxing on me. So I actually walked away from the meeting, and I had to go meet my youngest daughter. We went to go shopping together to meet at a mall, because we're about an hour and a half apart. So we met in the middle, and I ended up with heart pain. No joke. After my heart raced so hard trying to share last week. And then during the meeting, I had some definite heart pain, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it was so bad all day long, but anxiety induced, because it's just such a real thing for me. The whole journey has been wonderful, the whole thing. So bringing it all the way down to this, okay, your physical healing. So let's get to the emotional root of it. So working through that, but still appreciating everyone's thoughts and prayers and support here. So thank you.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you for pushing through the hard stuff, because I think that's what inhibits us from sharing, is that uncomfortableness. Because we already feel so bad, and it's like I don't want to feel worse, but it's like going through a bad neighborhood. Like you almost have to push through to go through the bad neighborhood to feel worse, to get to the good part, to get to the part where you can release all that stuff. Instead, we stay trapped. We stay trapped in this discomfort and in this hiddenness. And that's where it almost exacerbates and multiplies. And it's not until we can open the gates and get into releasing that by talking about it. So thank you so much for pushing through and for trusting us to be a safe place for you to share. That's awesome. Real quick, I want to go back. Somebody, I think, misunderstood you and said, so HDL is high HDL is bad. And that is not what you were saying, correct, Amy?
No, and I did put in the chat afterwards, I said, oh, did I misspeak? I'm sorry, because sometimes I do that. High HDL is the goal because it almost nullifies the high LDL. If you look at that chart, over 220 for LDL and 100 for LDL were the same as long as the HDL was 85 or above. So you want a really high HDL, as high as, the higher numbers are protective, whereas the 100 for LDL or the 220 for LDL, when the HDL was low, that's when the risk was huge for the heart attack. And Deborah, if you're on a computer, raise hand is under reactions. It's a little smiley face with a plus. If you're on a computer, are you on an iPad or a phone?
I can't hear you. You're muted.
I'm on a Chromebook and the raise hand button isn't there.
Oh, yeah. Nope. I think
I've heard
Chromebook
doesn't have it.
Nope,
Yeah.
It doesn't have it. So you
That's
can
okay.
you can go in a minute.
That's okay. We'll get to you in just a second. Let me get to Tom really quick. Thank you for clearing that up, Amy. And I think it is misleading when you look at that chart at first, because your brain looks at the little bars and it looks like, that goes larger and larger and larger. And the bars are the relative risk. The numbers are what you need to look at. See how it's 25, 45, 65, 83. It's the higher LDL that has the lower risk. Wow, Amy, I retained something you said. I'm impressed. All right. Tom, go ahead.
Super. Yeah, thanks. For Catherine, all that other stuff doesn't really matter if you, this is what I suggest you do. Your husband needs to do a CT CAC score. He's got to get that. That's the main thing, because that is the best predictor of somebody and whether they're going to have a heart attack.
CT CAC score?
CT CAC, CAC.
CAC.
So it's a cardiac, I forget what it even stands for. I used to know it like 10 minutes
No, that's
ago.
okay. That's enough. She'll be able to look that up.
Yeah. So CT CAC, and what that does is it sees how much calcium deposit that you have in your heart. And if your husband's score is 0, you can tell him to shove that statin where the sun don't shine. So that is his ammunition for fighting. When somebody says, "Oh, your cholesterol is high and your LDL-C is high, you need to be on a statin." Well, my CAC score is 0, so I have 0 chance of having a heart attack. So I don't want to be on, because not the risk, but the side effects do not really warrant. Because when he goes off those statins, he's going to feel so much better mentally, have better mental clarity. That's the kind of side effects that you have. So
did you go off, Tom? Or are you still on them?
I took myself off it before, and remember I started feeling better, and then the doctor said, well, your cholesterol is way up and your LDL-C is way up. And I said, yeah, but this new research that people have been doing, going back and looking at the data from original research, shows that it's actually a higher cholesterol that you live longer. But that's not out there yet, so you can't say that because they think you're crazy. So, but if you have a 0 CAC score, that is the best ammunition you have against fighting against taking medicine. Now, on the reverse of that, if he has a high CAC, say it's over 1,000, 1,200 or above. I had 1,200 in 2016, and then it was 5,000 a few months ago, and that's what led me to getting to the point to where I had a CT. So if you have this, let me back up here because I'm all over the place. If it's 0, he's good to go. Okay. If it's over 1,000 or above, then if they say, oh well, let's do a nuclear stress test. You know what my cardiac nurse said? She said that's a waste of time. The nuclear stress test is a waste of time. Go straight to the CT, the left heart catheterization, where they go in and they put the wire up through your vein and they inject dye into your heart, and that's what shows you where if there's any blockages. And if it's at the beginning stages and you have a little blockage, they can put a stent in there, and that opens up your arteries. Or they say, well, it's not that bad. We can treat it with medication, the medication word. But the CT calcium score at the beginning and the heart catheterization tells you whether you have blockages or not. They do try to scare you with med shell. You're right about that. So you got to fight. You got to fight back with ammunition and knowledge, and here's the thing: a lot of insurance companies say, "Well, you can't do the CT calcium score because you don't have any symptoms." Well, make symptoms. Tell them you have chest pains, whatever you have to tell them to get to do the test. Oh yeah, I got kind of chest pains there. I had no symptoms at all. I had 100% blockage on one artery, 90% on another, 80% on two others. I had no symptoms whatsoever. And if I didn't push them, they wouldn't have done any of these tests. And I'd be dead, like laying in the street or whatever, walking the dog or planting bulbs in the garden, right, honey? So anyways.
You saved your own life, Tom.
Yeah, I totally agree. I did. And so that's my message, Catherine. Sorry to preach again from the pulpit of Tom video.
No, you're fine. And you're such a blessing, Tom. I'm so grateful that we get to tap into your PhD mind. We're so blessed to have you.
I am trying to find mute so I don't talk anymore.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Deborah, go ahead and unmute. And I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. I've been watching, my name's Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
And I've been watching quite a few, some of your YouTubes and Amy's also, and it just seems like this is the place that I kind of want to start next. Just a little about my history. I'm starting to lump all these things, diseases and everything that I hear into just chronic illness, but I've been sick for about 5 years, and I did find out I have Lyme disease. So
raise your hand, Amy.
So it's and I watched one of your interviews with Josh yesterday, and I have a lot of the similar things. I have a lot of neuro things too. I have what do I have? I write it down so I can remember.
Josh Ketchery.
I have serious insomnia. I don't sleep. I sleep 2 or 3 hours a night for long term, and it started out with the panic attacks too. I just started out with panic attacks, and I was hospitalized with heart arrhythmias a couple of times. So I'm way better, but I still have some things going on. And I've been keto or ketovore for about 2.5 years. And my A1C is still 5.2, which I know that's not dangerous or anything, but I think it was way higher before, and that was the first one I ever had. So anyway, so I'm just trying to evolve to like strict carnivore and to kind of weed that down to see if that'll help and weed things out. Because so that's where I am. I'm just trying to get better and better, and I'll never give up with health, because it is not fun being sick. I tell people I would eat dirt at this point if I knew it would make me better, because it's just no fun being sick. So I don't have the discipline problem of not eating what I'm not supposed to, but
good, you're blessed.
So I'm gonna kind of just trim it down though into just pure carnivore, I think. And
well, and what I found is that it's so important to use carnivore as a tool to really get to a baseline to find out, okay, what does good feel like? And what can I remove and reintroduce to find out what makes me feel best? And I tell people all the time, carnivore is not the goal. It is not a sign of health that you can only eat beef and beef fat.
Right.
It is a sign of health that your body can process all the foods. And so carnivore is just a tool for you to clear out noise and then be able to navigate what foods do make me feel better, what foods do make me feel worse. So I'm so grateful that you're on this journey.
Yeah, me too. And I'm glad to be in this group. There's a lot of good info, and so
Catherine says in the chat, she says, Debbie, I went carnivore to heal because I was tired of being sick. So much healing.
Yeah, that's where I feel like I'm headed, at least to try it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, keep us updated. I'm so glad to have you here.
I will. I'll be here again. Thank you.
Yay. I'm so glad you found us. And then in the chat, Ricardo had a question that he sent me directly. And now I can't find it. There it is. I spoke with Scott 2 days ago. Scott is the carnivore lion on YouTube, the carnivore lion. I interviewed with him a few weeks ago. Great interview, by the way. They asked some of the most incredible questions. They pulled out some really good stuff out of me. It's on my YouTube channel as well, The Carnivore Lion. It was Scott and a girl named Annabelle from the UK. Phenomenal interview. I spoke to Scott 2 days ago, and that's how Ricardo met me. Is Scott went as soon as Scott met me, he went directly to Ricardo and said, "You need to talk to Emily." Anyway, I have been told to avoid Saladino's protocol, Paul Saladino, and to go full carnivore. I do not know what to do, as I do not have a gallbladder. I am worried about having too much fat. What would you recommend? Is it still all right to have avocado and blueberries for breakfast? Go, Amy.
I was going to raise my hand.
Go.
But that's okay.
I swear, Amy and we can communicate through our eyes.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. It depends. I say that all the time. It seriously depends. Now, I get Paul. I've paid Paul a pretty penny to have a meeting with him. And I talked with him, and he was very helpful. This was back when he was just pure carnivore. And I respect him and I admire him, but I'm also glad that he makes it known that this really isn't for everybody, because I don't think it's for everybody. There are people who need more than just meat and fat. And there are people who can thrive on just meat and fat. You can look at Kelly Hogan. You can look at Paul Saladino. He did hardcore carnivore. I have one of his books. His book is over here down low. You can't see it right now. But the Carnivore Code, where he is like, all plants are evil. You do not want to eat plants. And now he's like, look at my plants. I grew this plant. I'm going to eat this plant. He had to adapt. He had to change for what his body was telling him. I don't fully agree with his method. However, look at where he lives. Look at the fruit and the honey that he is eating. The quality of what he is getting is far different than the quality that we can get most of the time, that I could go to the grocery store and get. Even my organic stuff is not really organic stuff. I tried.
And not seasonal.
Exactly. And not here. It's Wisconsin. It was snowing yesterday. It was ridiculous. So the thing is, for him, his season is a whole lot longer. And it's literally in his backyard. He also surfs 6 hours a day. So for some people, yes. And he went to that route because his leg cramps, he could not balance his electrolytes. And because he couldn't balance his electrolytes, I fully respect that he found what needed to work for him. I know some people that can handle potatoes, some people that can handle rice, some people that can handle avocados, some people that can handle blueberries with absolutely no problems, only benefits. And that is the key that you need to find out for you. Are you receiving benefits from your fully carnivore diet? If you are, but you're lacking in some areas like being able to balance your electrolytes, then you may need to find what you personally need to add. I think avocados and I think that blueberries are phenomenal. I think that that is a really good place to start if you need them. If you don't need them, then don't include them. But I don't know. I don't know what your symptoms are. I don't know what your thinking is. And sometimes our inner knowing knows better than our mind does. And you have to shut off the mind and you have to go, I'm going to just trust that my body is telling me avocados and blueberries for a reason. So because I'm not in your body and I don't know what's really going on, try to quiet your mind and really get in tune with what your body is telling you. If you want avocados and blueberries, I'm not going to take away your carnivore card. Because I say 75% meat or more, I consider that a carnivore. If there is an animal in nature that eats 75% of its food from other animals, meats, and fat, it's considered a carnivore. I don't want the title. I want health. I want to feel good. And that's what I want for everyone that's here. Don't go for the title. Don't go for someone else's approval of what you are eating. See if your body is saying, thank you, I needed that. Does that make sense? Oh,
Go ahead. Can you unmute Ricardo? Or here, I'll try and ask you to unmute.
Yeah, it makes
go.
perfect sense. Perfect sense. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Sometimes people just need permission to not follow the crowd or to follow a different crowd. Sometimes we just need permission. So there's your permission. There's your card right there.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Amy, did you want to talk about the no gall or the trouble with the gallbladder and fat?
Yes, absolutely. Go slow. There's many, many, many carnivores who do not have a gallbladder and haven't for
Kelly Hogan.
Yeah, decades and have no problem with it. And they can eat 80% fat, sometimes upwards of 90% fat. Your liver actually makes your bile. Your gallbladder just condenses it and hangs on to it for you so that when you eat a really fatty meal, it can squeeze it all out at once so that it can break down the fat. If you go slow enough, and for some people, they literally can do it overnight and their body's like, I got you. I am awesome. And some people, they're like, what did you just do to me? So you can try it. You can, up your fat a little bit slower, but your liver can actually learn to hold on to the bile itself. It just has to kind of grow a little pouch for it. It has to learn, and then it will release a whole lot of bile all at once because my man just ate a really fatty meal. Let's help him out here. So that can absolutely be fine. If you start having really loose stools and problems, the avocado may actually really help because it's got a lot of fiber in it. So that can help in that sense. And it's got the good fat. It does have some carbs in it, but you know what? If your body feels good with it, then I say just go with it. Monica says, Ricardo, I do not have a gallbladder and have had gastric bypass. I consume a ton of fat slowly and allow my body to absorb it. Thank you. I'm so glad you said that, Monica. That's the other thing is that a lot of people are like, one meal a day, let's go to this one meal a day and it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to eat 1.5 pounds of fat in one meal a day. And for some people, that's not possible. You have to very slowly distribute it throughout the day. And that's okay, because fats, I mean, it doesn't really raise your insulin too much. And some people find that they have better results if they eat more consistently throughout the day. Tom put in the chat, for anyone who is wondering, it should be the link to the paper about the cardiac calcium scoring and the stuff that he gave to his doctor, or tried to give to his doctor, I believe. Is that right, Tom? Maybe, possibly. He's busy.
Yeah, and real quick, I want to add, Ricardo, you are fighting MS. And so it is a worthy feat to figure out how to adapt to more fat, because the deteriorated myelin in our brains with the MS, it is literally made out of fat. And the best way to restore that coating is fat. And so even if it comes from avocados, you need that fat to literally rebuild the deteriorated myelin on your brain. And so I love what Amy said. I would just start with not even a step. I would start with a micro step to find a way to implement more fat. I believe animal fat is the best, but I don't fault anyone for doing both, for having the avocado and the animal fat. So I would definitely say that even gallbladder problems, like Monica, I know Monica's story, and I know that she is knocking it out of the park by being able to incorporate more fat. You can totally do this. Thank you for asking that question, Ricardo. All right.
My pleasure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that.
Did you have any other questions? Did we answer that for you?
Well, yeah, me and Scott, we went over, I stopped it today, some supplements every morning. Like I take Centrum, all these different vitamins and omega-3. I stopped with that. Just take vitamin D3 because I'm in the Great White North. We don't have enough sunshine. So, again, I'm going to go to the Coimbra protocol, like I mentioned last week.
The what protocol?
Coimbra protocol.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And to get that boost in vitamin D3. So he said that's perfectly fine. Again, we both live here in Toronto, and we know that we're deficit in vitamin D3. So, but he told me to stop everything else. So that is fine, I guess. Would it be okay? Just
I trust Scott, definitely. So I think that's great.
Are you taking D3 with K2?
Yeah, the Centrum has K2. I reckon it does. K2. Well, I don't know, to be honest. I can't see it here, but
can you see Amy's screen? She's got drops. Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, for anybody that ever has an issue absorbing D3, this thing is amazing. This has been able to take anyone's levels that is too low and bring them up. I take 3 drops a day, because when I was taking 5 drops a day, my vitamin D level was 112. And I live in Wisconsin, and that's too high. So this is phenomenal. Everyone that's ever had a problem absorbing it before, it's in olive oil, so it's not carnivore, and it's got some peppermint flavor to it too. But this one has made a huge difference in my ability to fight off infections, illnesses, all kinds of other things. So just in case anyone is looking for a good vitamin D3 and K2, and it's affordable, it's on Amazon. So there's that one.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ricardo, for that question. Go ahead, Tom.
I'm technically challenged. I'm on.
You're like, I quit. You're like, I'm not even gonna try. There you go.
I'm technically challenged today. My phone is like really slow right now. I don't know why. When Amy went to me, I had like 20 windows open on my phone, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to get there, because I was trying to find the article that, so what I put in there was a link to a University of Maryland where I had my surgery, about the calcium score, the CT calcium score. That tells you everything about it there, Catherine. And to find the article, you have to just go into Google Scholar. If you go, I don't know if anybody uses Google Scholar, but you can find a whole bunch of articles about everything that we're talking about here. You can do your own research. I've done a lot of research since I started this, and I also, whenever, like, some of the doctors that are on the YouTube channel, like Dr. Barry and Dr. Paul Mason and others, they actually have these articles, and they put links to them on there. Go and get those articles and print them out, because that's ammunition, because that's why your doctor knows that you're not just any patient. You know what you're talking about. You've been doing your own research. And I'm telling you that most of us on this call here probably know more about this stuff, about our bodies and what's going on, than any doctor out there. So you have to be able to talk when you go in there, and it really helps. As my doctor that I have here, he knows his stuff, but he was shocked. He's shocked of the turnaround, and I've been able to back it up with science. And they always love that. You know how they love that term, science. Well, I've been doing some science on them, and even though my doctorate's in business, but still, I know how to do research. So, so go on Google Scholar. You can find your own stuff.
Awesome. Well, I think that wraps us up. This has been an incredible meeting. Thank you guys so much. And it is just, it never ceases to amaze me, the path that our conversations go. And it's always incredible. You guys are just the best team. I love having these meetings with you. I love navigating your questions. And I hope you have a great Saturday. We'll see you.
Bye, everybody.